We are now 1 week away from the long-awaited return of the regular season NBA basketball, and with teams back practicing together and playing preseason games together, now we're getting an early look at what the new-look squads could look like for the new year. With all of the moves and changes that came from this offseason, we should expect another exciting year of basketball filled with surprises along the way, which brings us to the topic of today's video. Today we'll be making 5 bold predictions for the upcoming season, and what I mean by this is that these are probably not things that most people are expecting to happen, but I believe there is a pretty decent chance that they can happen to surprise many of you. Before we start though, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Bird Dogs. With fall coming up, Bird Dogs has you covered with the best looking, most stylish, most comfortable pants and shorts you'll find for the season at a fraction of the cost of the other top brands in the market. They've got shorts for every occasion, and now as we're getting further into the fall season and closer to winter, they've also got the best line of pants, ranging from khaki pants, joggers, and their newly launched sweatpants as well, that are some of the most comfortable pairs of pants you'll ever own. So what could you possibly be waiting for? Go to birddogs.com, enter promo code hoopsreference, and they'll throw in a free Bird Dogs rope hat. That's birddogs.com, promo code hoopsreference, and boom, a free Bird Dogs rope hat with your pair of Bird Dogs, the most comfortable shorts, pants, and sweatpants with built-in liners. Once again, thank you to Bird Dogs for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the topic at hand. The first bold prediction I'll be making today for the 2023 NBA season is that the San Antonio Spurs will approach the NBA record for most losses in a season. There have been a lot of really bad seasons in NBA history, so I know how this sounds. The worst season of all time came during the 2012 lockout, when the Bobcats won just 7 games and lost 63. Then the worst 82-game seasons both belonged to the Philadelphia 76ers, with the worst coming in 1973 when they lost 73 games, and then in 2016 the team lost 72 games during that infamous process era. So when I say that the Spurs will be approaching that range of losing, it can seem a bit extreme, but there are a few legitimate reasons for why I feel this way. For one, the Spurs have what I believe to be the worst roster in the league on paper. I'll have their depth chart up on the screen for you to look at now here, but their lineup is filled with youth that are probably a few years away from contributing consistently to winning basketball games, and the veterans like Trey Jones, Doug McDermott, and Jakob Poeltl are all in the lineup, but they're career backups. This is a team built to lose basketball games, and their emphasis will be on developing that young talent, and on top of all of that, they actually have motivation to lose games this year. I promise this take isn't hate towards the Spurs, because I think they're doing this on purpose, for the sake of putting themselves in the best position possible to win the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes in the draft. We got our first look at Wembanyama live this past week, and he looks like the real deal, so teams will be motivated to tank extra hard as a result of the bad teams that might look extra bad this season because they all want Wembanyama. The next bold prediction I'll be making today for the upcoming season is that the Los Angeles Clippers will have the best record in the NBA this year. I've covered the Clippers a bit in previous videos I've made throughout the offseason, and any of you who have watched consistently know that I was incredibly high on their addition of John Wall this summer. Everything that could have went wrong for the Clippers last season did go wrong, but now going into this season, everything is going right for them. When Kawhi Leonard and Paul George teamed up in Los Angeles their first season, they immediately were the 2 seed in the West, but one of their biggest weaknesses was their lack of players at the point guard position that could settle things down, orchestrate the offense, make plays for those around them, and then in turn make the lives of guys like Kawhi and Paul George easier. And even though John Wall hasn't played in over a year and has shown signs of regressing overall, him no longer having to be the star of the team or the man will benefit him greatly, and his passing and playmaking skills were exactly what the Clippers needed. On top of that, the Clippers are arguably the deepest team in the NBA right now too, with a rotation that could legitimately go 12 players deep. The reason why this is a quote-unquote bold take is because of the fact that teams with new players like this typically need time to gel, and Kawhi Leonard is coming back from a serious injury, along with the rust that John Wall will have to work out in the first year. So there's uncertainty surrounding them, but their ceiling could be the moon if things go right. My next bold prediction for the 2023 NBA season is that the Chicago Bulls are going to miss the playoffs. The Eastern Conference is so competitive right now, and that only got further solidified by the moves several playoff contenders made throughout the offseason. The 76ers went out and rounded out their roster, the Cavaliers and the Hawks both traded for star guards to form dynamic duos in their backcourt, and several contenders are coming back healthy this year, ready to make another run. While all of this was happening, the Bulls were one of the quieter teams in the offseason, having only made 2 notable additions in Goran Dragic and Andre Drummond. Dragic has really started to slow down individually over the last couple years, as he is now 36 years old, so I'm not quite sure he's a guy who raises their ceiling at all, and Andre Drummond was a solid addition to back up center Nikola Vucevic, but the team still has a lot of unanswered questions. Lonzo Ball is once again entering the season with health concerns. They were a bottom 10 defensive team last season, and they didn't really address that side of the floor at all in the offseason, and with teams like the Cavaliers and Hawks expected to possibly jump them in the standings, I can definitely see the Bulls being the ones on the outside looking into the playoffs when it's all said and done. Last season, they got off to a pretty hot start to the season before cooling off in the second half of the year, and unfortunately, that negative momentum could carry over. The next bold prediction I have for the 2023 NBA season is that the Phoenix Suns will fall down to the play-in tournament this year. I know it sounds like I'm overreacting hard, and if the Suns do come out and dominate at a similar level that they did last season, then I will absolutely admit that I was wrong. But there is just too much negative energy down in Phoenix right now for me to feel good about them. And on top of that, as I said with the Bulls, there were several Western Conference teams that also made aggressive moves to shoot up the standings potentially. The Nuggets should be getting both Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. back on the court, the Timberwolves traded for Rudy Gobert to solidify their defense, and the Pelicans are getting Zion Williamson back. The Clippers are getting Kawhi Leonard back plus a newly acquired John Wall, and the Warriors are still the defending champions. The Suns, meanwhile, have a disgruntled center in DeAndre Ayton, who clearly didn't want to be back in Phoenix this offseason and said that he hasn't even spoken to his coach the entire offseason. Chris Paul is continuing to get up there in age, a horrible postseason collapse is still on everyone's mind, and the fact that they were pretty quiet in the offseason, making minimal moves to improve, doesn't help either. They should still be good enough to finish in the top half of the standings, but it wouldn't surprise me at all to see them finish around the 7 seed, which is in the play-in tournament. And finally, the last bold prediction I'll be making for the 2023 NBA season is that the New Orleans Pelicans will get a top 4 seed in the Western Conference playoffs this year. From what I've seen regarding conversations about the upcoming year and expectations for how the standings should shake out, I see a lot of people rating the Warriors highly, as they should. A team like the Clippers has high expectations to win a lot of games. The Timberwolves are viewed as a team that could take a deep run. The Grizzlies and Suns are expected to stay in contention, even though I just expressed doubt in the Suns. And the Lakers are still the talk of the town despite their disappointing season last year, but the Pelicans are a team that I think are carrying the most positive momentum into the new year. After starting off horribly last season, losing 12 of their first 13 games, they rallied hard in the second half of the season, and after trading for CJ McCollum at the deadline, they emerged as a playoff team that actually put up a pretty good fight against the 1-seed Suns in the first round. All of this was done, mind you, without Zion Williamson on the court. Zion looks slimmer than he's ever been since his time at Duke at the moment, and the last time he was on the court, he was breaking records for points scored in the paint per game. That kind of a force at full strength could easily shoot them up the standings, especially with a full offseason under their belts together, and CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram both playing some of their best basketball. It's going to be a dogfight in the Western Conference this season, but the Pelicans have as much talent as anybody on paper. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what some of your boldest predictions for the season are. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.